Since 2012, when his family suffered the loss of his son, Chris, John has focused on providing support to others, drawing from his experience and drive to give back. John keeps himself quite busy by volunteering for the Travis Mannion Foundation, where we met, in helping families of the fallen and transitioning veterans to civilian life, combined with his time mentoring and tutoring students at the Urban Promise Academy in Wilmington. He fills his other time with his wife Gail, pursuing family activities with their 4 grandkids and helping at the Hockessin United Methodist Church. John notably leads the Frozen Frogman fundraiser each year at the Hockessin Athletic Club in support of the Travis Mannion Foundation. And I'm proud to say that that event has raised between $20,000 and $25,000 a year since its inception. His love of swimming and cycling provides time for outdoors and camaraderie with friends. Events such as this give him the opportunity to tell the story of his son Chris and remind us all that character does matter. He strongly believes that life happens to us and we must control how we respond. So, introducing my friend and fellow Travis Mannion Foundation Spartan, John Moscow.
I was told that this will pick me up fine. Use the microphone? Okay. There we go. Set that. Okay. Thank you. I was told that this would pick me up, but it does help. So, Travis Mannion Foundation has some similarities to what you're trying to do here. We talk about if not me, then who, but we also get involved with Operation Legacy, where we go out and we do projects in the local community. We have the Honor Project, which every Memorial Day, we have teams at all the national cemeteries and some of the not national cemeteries, make sure that flags and coins get placed on the graves of the fallen. I got started, like they said, after Chris died, and I want to talk about a little bit more about who I am. So I am a Gold Star dad, not a club you hope to join, but it's a club of some of the best people in the world who take their loss and they take it out to the world and they work to say, no, that's not going to define me, but it is going to motivate me. I'm a lot of things. I'm a husband, a father, a volunteer. I do some triathlons. I do some swim events. I just did a 1.5-mile swim in the Sassafras River this past weekend with a bunch of people. And I did win my age group. Now, should be said, it's a small age group. So there were 2 of us, and there was one guy older than me, and he was a Naval Academy grad. So we had a great time just commiserating, and it was fun. It was a little choppy, it was a little rough, but I survived. I live in Avondale, but we have a condo down in Betterton, Maryland, which has a beach. It's a beautiful place. It's a wonderful family experience. They have a beach there, and it's always busy in the summer with a diverse background of people. So you have Hispanic music playing, you have people grilling, you have families where the kids are all in the water. And to me, it's a bit of a throwback to families going out on the weekend in multi-generational fashion. And I just love seeing that. Talk about the fundraiser. The other fact about that is we've raised about $250,000 since we started doing it about 10 years ago. And it's just, I have to say, this is the thing for me that is true teamwork. I got involved and I did some hard work at the beginning, but by creating a team that was in it with me, I've been able to step back and do what I like to do, which is this: talk to people, meet people, discuss why I do it, talk about Chris. I just had a young woman come to me the other day who I tutor, and I've been tutoring her for 2 years. And I said something about having to honor Chris because we lost him this past weekend. You know, we lost him 12 years ago, but over Memorial Day weekend. And she looked at me and she goes, I didn't know he was dead. And I looked at her and I said, she goes, you talk about him like he's right there. That was the biggest compliment I think I have gotten in a long, long time. One of the things we do as Travis Manion Foundation, when we talk to people, is we try to come up with one thing people wouldn't know about you in your life. And this is about 1976. I was at Kutztown State College with a friend. We were invited to go to a concert there, and I didn't know who the concert was, and I'd never really heard of Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band and everything. My buddy and I are out playing Frisbee, and these two guys walk up, a black man and a skinny white guy, and they said, can we play Frisbee with you? And if you're from North Jersey, typical North Jersey wear for a skinny white guy is a spaghetti trap t-shirt, or a sleeveless t-shirt. And I was like, sure. And he had pointy-toed black shoes on too, and I'm like, how are you going to play Frisbee? But I didn't say it. And at the end of the time, they left. They introduced themselves as Bruce and Clarence. Still didn't know who they were. And they said, hey, we got to go. We got to get ready for something later. Are you going to the concert tonight? We'll see you there. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. And they came on stage, and I realized I really should have been doing something a little different. So, anyway, at the Travis Manion Foundation, we have a group we work with called Values Institute of America. And one of the things we do is we have an assay for each person that wants to do it. You can take this questionnaire and determine what are your top character traits. They outline about 24 character traits. My top 5 happen to be gratitude, spirituality, judgment, love, and hope. Not always in that order. Depends on how my life's going, depends on what I'm doing at the time. Am I doing more tutoring? What am I doing at the time? So they shift around a little bit, not a lot. What we're trying to do is teach people how to lead with their strengths. And when I talk to adults, this is more important than kids, because kids are going to shift around over time. They still get something out of it, but they learn that we have these capabilities, and they're our talents. And I should lean on the things that I'm strong at. So when I'm talking to them, and I would kind of leave it here too, your character comes from the people who inspire you, the people you admire, the people you respect. When you think about those top people in your life, there should be some similarities in the things that you want to improve at when you watch them. So I think that's important. And I try to get the kids to think more about who they're pointing to. Is it some top athlete? I'll tell you this, I like A.J. Brown. I didn't know who A.J. Brown was, and I met him. He introduced himself as A.J. Last year. And I said, great. And it was at the Eagles autism event. And I was like, I'm sorry, I don't know who you are. He goes, really? He goes, it's great. I mean, seriously, he was wonderful. And he goes, I'm A.J. Brown. I said, okay, I think that helps. You're a receiver, right? He goes, yeah. And then I thought about it a little more, and I said, okay, and I'm pretty good with facts if I've heard them once or twice. I said, you're a good receiver. He goes, yeah. So, but it was fun. I got to meet Brandon and Graham too, and those two guys are just wonderful people. I want to talk about somebody that I look at, and I use two people when I am talking about character traits that have helped me in my life. And one will be my son, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But does anybody here know Frank other than Paul? Knew Frank? Is there anybody else in the world you know that was a nicer, wonderful guy? So that picture on the left is Frank and I in front of Paul's a townhouse that he had down in Bethany at the time. And after Chris died, this is about 2 years after, and I said, I need to do something. I'm going to do something by myself. First of all, it's not a good idea. My wife didn't like it necessarily, but she was willing to let me do it. Frank's wife said, no, you can't let him do it by himself. Frank calls me up, and we were good friends, but we weren't like always palling around doing stuff together. He calls up and said, John, you can't do it by yourself. My wife won't let you. I thought, well, that's good, because my wife really didn't want me to do it either. He goes, I'll go with you. So he and I started out in Wilmington at 6 o'clock in the morning, got on our bikes. We rode to Paul's place, got there about 3-ish in the afternoon, which is it was actually exactly 112 miles. And for those of you who know the significance of that, that's the distance in an Ironman triathlon. And it was one of the most meaningful days of my life, spending with Frank. Fast forward a few years, Frank has got cancer, and he's going up to UPenn for treatments. And I offered to help out with that, because he was going almost every day. It was like every other day or something like that. And I got to get closer with him. The thing I loved about Frank, and what drove me to focusing more on social justice, was where he decided to put his business and why he put it there. His business was right here in Wilmington, just across the river, in the part of town, especially at that time, nobody really wanted to be there. And he put it there because people could get to it. They could get a bus to Wilmington and walk. They could walk if they were from the local neighborhood. And he felt that there needed to be more business people willing to do that if we were going to make changes in the world. And so I walked away from that going, okay, if I can be just a little bit more like Frank in thinking of those things, that started to influence my life, and it became why I do the tutoring, which is less than half a mile from here on Market Street. The best one I have about Frank was his gratitude. I lent him, or gave him, I didn't really want it back, but I lent him a bike so he could ride with his son on the bay, bike to bay. Thank you. He came back to me and goes, thank you for doing that, because I was able to participate in my son's passion. His son's a very good bike rider, but he got to participate in his son's passion, and he didn't realize what that would mean to him. And so Frank and I stayed close. I've stayed, in contact with his wife over the years, and just a wonderful man. For those of you who don't know, on the right, that's the luge. Frank participated in 2 Olympics in the luge, and the reason I really got to know him is because his doubles partner was a boyhood friend of mine. And so, how do you know what connections you're going to make into this world? So then, the Travis Manion talk, we talk at the Travis Manion, we always include these 2 guys. They were best friends, they were roommates at the Naval Academy. Travis Manion is from Doylestown, Pennsylvania. He was killed in Iraq in 2007, if I have that right. And these guys were considered brothers. They considered themselves brothers. And so Travis goes down in 2007. 3 years later, Brendan goes down. And their words, their actions have created what is now a very large organization. We have chapters in most of the major cities of the United States, and even some minor cities in the United States. And we go out and we work in the community with veterans, Gold Star families, and families of the fallen. I should use that term a little bit differently, because if you are a first responder and you go down, we're going to support that family, that we consider them part of our organization. And then finally, we do Character Does Matter, and that's where we go to schools and work with youth. We have also started to add a new piece of it, which is Leading with Your Strengths, which is taking Character Does Matter and turning it into more of an adult program. I am not, quote unquote, trained to do that one yet, so I focus a little bit more on the Character Does Matter. So there are a few things that these guys are known for. Their character traits, when we look at them, were leadership, humility, gratitude, justice, perseverance, and integrity. So Travis was the top three, Brendan was the bottom three. But there are a few things that they said that really strike a chord with me. Little things matter. Travis looked at his sister one day, who is now running, she's the chief executive officer for Travis Meeting Foundation, said, be big in the small things. If you're big in the small things, the big things will work themselves through, because you'll be building a base to build on. So I always carry that one with me. Make someone's day. This one's from Brendan. He always carried $5 gift cards. He always carried a little bit of extra cash in an envelope. If he saw somebody down and out, which if you've ever been to San Diego, there's a lot of homeless people, and he was always handing these things out to get somebody a meal, or get somebody something to eat, to get them, a haircut, things like that. He just oozed that, help others. And finally, take responsibility for your life. You can't take responsibility for anybody else's. Take responsibility for your life. If you do good, be happy. If you do something wrong, own up to it. Take responsibility for it. Okay. My son was Lieutenant Chris Moscow. He was a naval EOD officer. EOD is explosive ordnance disposal. Pictures I have of him in Afghanistan are taking a plastic knife, going down on his knees in a road, and trying to dig out an IED. Now, unfortunately, an IED eventually got him, but it wasn't one that he had tried to get out. They were driving down a road that had supposedly been checked, and somebody missed it. But having said that, he led with integrity, leadership, and kindness. Now, to me, I have one story that recently has been my story that means so much to me about Chris. It was about 4 or 5 years ago. So Chris has been gone now for 13 years. But about 5 years ago, a kid that he was friends with in high school got in touch with me. Adam had been a soccer player with Chris when they were in like 6th and 7th and 8th grade. When they got to high school, Adam, who loved hockey, loved soccer, but stood about this tall, just did not have the physicality to go forward. So he kind of became on the outside. And I got a letter from him. And he goes, Mr. Moscow, you don't understand what Chris meant. Chris is the only reason I'm alive today. And I'm like, holy smokes, where's he going with this? And he said, when I was in high school, I all of a sudden became the outside kid. His parents were getting a divorce, so he had that disaster going on in his life, at least he felt it was. And he had all this turmoil. And he was thinking about committing suicide. And he goes, Chris was the only person in high school that came to me and said, Adam, I'm here. What do you want to go do? Let's go talk about it. How can I help you? And I'm going, these are 16 and 17 and 18-year-old kids. I'm not sure I would have had that when I was that age. So I look at that and I'm like, okay, inclusive, positive, and he pulled somebody along when he did that. So I live with that, and I say, no, that's a piece of my son I get to own and understand now. There's one thing on this slide that I consider the most important character on the slide. Can anybody guess what it is? I'll take a guess. If anybody wants to guess. No? Okay. The dash. That dash is all the things I know about Chris. It's all the things I've learned about. Parts of that dash were invisible to me until people told me about them. To me, that's important. Whatever that dash is, whether it's Chris's case, 28 years, in my case, who knows? Who knows? Maybe I'll make it to 70 next year. How did you fill it? What'd you do with it? So, Chris did a lot with it. He is remembered really fondly by so many people. The biggest gift Chris gave us, we thought he was being a typical senior, wasn't doing any work, he was sitting on a computer playing games, what is he doing? He's essentially quit high school. What are we going to do about this? Turns out, he knew how to hit a button and have it look like a game was playing, and he was writing a speech. And it was they did a baccalaureate. It was a public high school, so the kids had to go off campus to do a baccalaureate service at one of the churches. But he did it, and what he wrote was this. And I carry this, and this is like the greatest gift I have from Chris. When we step forward in each of these obstacles, our parents were right behind us, holding our hand, watching our back. No words could ever repay them for all the love they have shown us. But I'd like to let every parent know that what they do for us is appreciated. To live with that and have that is so important to me. The one thing, unfortunately, he's not smiling in that picture. If we go through all the pictures we have of Chris, the one thing you will always see is that smile. And I have some others in Afghanistan where there was a camp dog, and he was petting the dog, and he was smiling at the dog. So there's a lot of that in my background. One thing is, my friend Paul. Paul is more than a colleague. Paul's probably my best friend. And he and I have been together working on stuff for 40 years, having fun together. But our families are family. And his daughter decided to go into the Navy. And when she went to commission, Chris flew in to do her commissioning, which was just really was wonderful to see back in, 2004, 5, 6, 7, something like that, 5. I have one more person I want to mention. Victor Franklin. I'm assuming most of you know who that is. This is what I take from Victor and what I talk about when I'm with the people I mentor and tutor, especially the young black men, because as I work with them just up the street here, they are living in a world I don't understand. And I need to work with them to know how to respond to the world around them. I think this fits that, and it fits me, and it probably fits most of you. Between stimulus and response, there's a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. And to me, there's so many times when you feel that on the back of your neck, you're angry, or something's happening, or and you think you're going to respond. If you take a step back and you take the space to think, to feel, to think maybe that other person is having a bad day, and this is not the time to respond in kind. Don't be the antithesis of being kind and helpful. I really loved what you stand for here. I was looking at those, I'm like, well, yeah, it's Travis Manion Foundation too. Those are the things we want. So, Viktor Frankl, he was a psychiatrist in pre-war Germany. He entered a concentration camp at the age of 42 with his parents, his wife, and his brother. During the 3 years, he lost all of them. He lived to be 92 years old. And if you read some of his books, you get the dark side of it, but you also get this, here's how we can be better. Here's how we can react better. And I think that that is such a powerful statement. I think he's a great writer. What this has taught me is you can't overly focus on the problems in your life. You're going to create inaction. Don't dwell on them. Work around them. Find the workarounds. Relax on that. And you need to discover and pursue things that are meaningful. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's me being up at Urban Promise. Maybe it's what I do with the Travis Manion Foundation. Almost every day that I work and tutor and mentor, I come out a better person than I was the day before because I picked up something from those kids because they had a different experience than my life. I was a country kid out when I was up till I graduated from high school. Then I was in Newark. I've always been in suburbia. I don't understand what it is to walk in East Wilmington. I don't understand what it is to walk over as you come to the train station. That's not my world. And by understanding these kids, I can be a better person. So, to end, I'm going to ask some questions, not necessarily answers, but if anybody wants to answer, I'd love to hear it. But I believe that if you have hope, you can build your own resilience. So those problems that come up, hope pulls you through. That's the only reason I think I got through Chris's death. I had good friends, I had faith, and I had hope. And at that time, hope was one of my top character traits. So, as we think about what we can learn from each of these people, I would argue that on a Memorial Day, if you go around to any of the cemeteries around here, you can find a grave with somebody's name on it. I would argue you should find that person's name, look up who they were, what they did, why they did it, how did they die. Because that is what we all want. As a Gold Star parent, that's what I want. I want somebody I know is going to carry on and remember. Not necessarily just my son, but everybody else who has worked to make this nation a great nation and worked to help those less fortunate than themselves. How can you take your character strengths and turn it into an impactful and valuable life to everyone? Your benefit others, benefit all involved. Whatever it is, you're being able to do that leaves such a mark on the world. Help one person, they might help two people, and then you get four, and then it just builds. And that's what I feel called to do. Obviously, you understand this because you do these things. But putting service into your life is very important if you are trying to get over a major loss. If you are being service to others, it really allows you to understand others before you focus on yourself. And if you can take your internal focus off yourself and onto others, it makes it all easier to take care of. It makes you feel better. It makes you move forward faster. Okay, and I do do want you all to take this question and take it with you. And I would argue, if you can't answer this question and answer yes to this question, you're not doing something right. I know, you know, when I'm doing this at 69 years old, I still am putting go to the gym on my calendar. I'm still putting go do this on the calendar because I need to separate that time to do the things that are best for me as well as for others. What gives me the power to get up every morning and repeat, rinse and repeat a day? Does your planner back it up? I would argue if it doesn't, then you know, are those really the most important things in your life? We all put go to Rotary Club, and you know, or go to give a talk at the school, or go, you know, whatever. But if they aren't feeding into the most important thing in your life, and if you don't have time with your spouse, time with your kids, time with your grandkids on your sketch out, I'd say you probably should. So this goes back to my slide on Chris, and that is how are you filling your dash? What are you doing that somebody's going to care what that dash is? Is it fulfilling you? Are the things in that dash making you better? Are you getting growth out of it? And growth doesn't mean get to know more people. It means are you feeling fulfilled and responsible for others? I think our responsibility to others is a really, really important thing. If we walk out the street, onto the street, and we go to cross the street and get hit by a car and we die today, are you okay with what your dash says? And only you can answer that. So I'm going to leave you with this. Think about all the things, where you live, what you know, who you know, the needs that are out there. If not me, then who? That's what we live with as the ethos at Travis Manion. We believe that every time, it's what Travis said when he needed to go back to Iraq the second time after just getting back from his first deployment. They needed somebody immediately. He said, I'll go. He's like, I've already done it. I know how to do it. Just send me. That way we don't have to worry that somebody else who doesn't know has to be brought up to speed. And he was killed within, you know, a short time of that. And I think that, to me, that is, you know, when I talk to the kids, it's like, when they ask you to do something, don't go like this and slink into the background. Step forward and say, yeah, I'll do that. I know I can do that. I can make the world a better place that way. Anyway, I could go on all day talking about Travis Manion Foundation and things like that. I'd be glad to answer any questions later. I can answer them now. I know your time doesn't necessarily exist.
We have time for one or two quick questions.
It's okay if there are none. I'm not. Okay.
All right, John.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing your story of Chris and the other fallen heroes who have given their all to keep us safe. And we remember them this Memorial Day. Thank you so much. And as an expression of our appreciation and to note our club's 6-year and ongoing commitment to improving early childhood education in Delaware, we will give this book, which is...
When has it?
we will give a book. We will give a book in your name to one of our 5 community partners, the Christina Cultural Arts, Latin American Community Center, Kingswood Community Center, St. Michael's Preschool, for Stubbs' early childhood. And your name will be on that in appreciation for the talk you gave us today. If your schedule permits, please stay and enjoy coffee, macaroons, and additional fellowship. And until we see each other again, let's engage in the magic of Rotary.